Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Overreaction Buffalo Postgame Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter, Joe Miller Wired, alongside my co-host, John Fina, former Buffalo Bill, former offensive tackle, and you can find him on Twitter at John Fina. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this production on. Please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Do us a favor. Leave a comment. Leave a review. All that good stuff. Tell a friend. Send a note. Send a text. Send a tweet. I don't care what you got to do. Let people know that you love this show. You love our content. And you love us. But the Buffalo Bills just lost a heartbreaker, John Fina. A heartbreaker. 38-0, I think, was the score. Josh Allen did not play, but we did see Caleb Williams, who looked crisp very early, 93-yard touchdown drive coming out, hitting key plays to tight ends, taking advantage of what looked to be some defensive confusion by the Buffalo Bills, second and third stringers. But, John, we got a full-on preseason game. Like,
whoa,
full-on.
Look, I'm furious. I am absolutely, I'm just, I can't contain myself. I'm so angry. And let me tell you, I'm picking this game's biggest loser, okay? Absolutely biggest loser, Xfinity. My cable provider was horrible, Joe. I've never seen more pixelated plays, frozen frames, rainbow frames in one game. I'm going to write a sternly worded letter to Xfinity.
Nice.
They absolutely they fumbled, they threw a pick, they dropped a touchdown, they did everything wrong, and that's about as bad as it got for me and for my Buffalo Bills. Given the people that were on the field and the type of philosophy, game plan, whatever you want to call it, that they put forth, the biggest loser was definitely
Xfinity not doing John any favors for this football game. I'm going to pull up some stats. I think the
you have to.
Do the stats matter? The Buffalo. I know one off the top of my head. The Buffalo Bills give up 371 yards to the Bears offense in the first
on one play. Each play.
It was the old Tecmo Bowl. They ran down, ran back, like all in the same play. So I'll pull up some of these stats here in a minute, just because they were not necessarily great. I feel like, when you look at this football, well, let's start from the top. So Mike White gets the start, which I think, John, signals, as we kind of like just look for the things inside of a preseason game you look for to talk about that matters. Mike White getting the start, I feel like, kind of signals that at least coming into this game, there's an open competition for QB2.
Well, I think by starting Mike White, you're acknowledging that there's a slight competition, but Mitch Trubisky is actually the favorite. So you put Mike White in the situation under really adverse conditions, just to see how well he manages the offense, placing the ball, and it was not good. I mean, right. Mike White, even when guys were open, he was overthrowing. He did not look like a guy that will beat Mitch Trubisky out. But I think it's important because, you come in second and it's a little bit more garbage time. Right. You want to put your guy that's fighting for the job in front of a team that he's going to play in the regular season. And, you could argue that the game plan, the receivers weren't coming open, but even when they were, he just did not look sharp. I mean, he wasn't placing the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there and the balls that were placed weren't necessarily being caught. First, I guess overall, not first. What are your overall arching takes from just some of your takes from this game, from what you saw?
Joe, it's a little bit like lather, rinse, repeat from last week, right? So the Bills take the Giants in Buffalo, and it's the same. The Giants are the Bears, right? I mean, two franchises that are just doing everything in their power to build back up, to get to where the Bills already are.
Right.
So, it's very clear that every play, every rep as a team had greater importance to the offense and defense for the Bears.
Right.
Whereas for the Bills, we were trying to fish out individual performances. What's a guy going to do in a one-on-one situation? They're working at the Bears with, new offensive coordinator, new leadership at the head coach position, more along the lines of, hey, these are plays we've been working on for 3 or 4 weeks in training camp. Now we got to put them out on the field and get the timing right in a game type situation. And it was, anybody who's shocked that this game turned out the way it was, I mean, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
It feels like, and I wrote this early in my notes, it feels like of all my years of watching NFL football, and particularly preseason games, when preseason games go the way this one did, and one team comes out and plays the way that one team did tonight with a new staff, it's generally, from what I remember and what I've learned, the kiss of death for that team, because a whole lot more went into their preparation for this game than the Bills, who Sean McDermott said, if from 0 to 100% or whatever it was, the amount of prep we did, it's like really close to zero. And I highly doubt they did in this one. There's a lot of speculation from Bills beat reporters, and it was on the radio, I think, this week, that more than likely the preseason game for the Buffalo Bills was played on Friday in Chicago. So like when Josh Allen was on the field and the starters were on the field, and McDermott made a comment about being behind Josh Allen with the whistle, Josh had a red shirt on so he could control the contact, and Josh getting hit, because obviously getting Josh Allen hit would be a problem. But the Bills, very much as this was an exhibition game and they wanted to see, as you said, individual moments, which I don't think they got a lot out of or got a lot of. There's no way that the Bills got what they wanted to see primarily from the starters and the main players Friday.
Couldn't agree more. There's another aspect of why the Bears came out to play the way they did, and you have to understand this is a new staff, right? So they haven't suited up for a regular season game yet,
right?
And there are so many machinations. How do we want to go from 10 a.m. to kickoff at 1 p.m. on a typical?
Hang on, I got to look up machination.
Thank you. The mechanics of warming up, like who's going to be where, and you're going to have all these personalities. Ben Johnson's the new guy; he's a new head coach. You're going to have defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators pushing and pulling for how they want warm-ups to go, how they want everything from stretch to this and that. So this is a dry run for them. The Bills have had 7 years of dry run in the preseason. And I'll say this, with respect to the friendly practices, I'm certain that the entire coaching staff from Buffalo got a hell of a lot more out of those practices and had a much greater intent to draw more out of that practice than they did for this preseason game. There is a caveat. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
I don't love this. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But what I would prefer more is give these young guys a little bit more to work with, right? Give them something to play for instead of having them out there running, mostly vanilla defense. We did see some pressure packages, which, by the way, looked fair. Near the end of the second quarter, we saw a little bit in the third. That was encouraging. But to feel like you're just kind of out there as a blocking dummy, it's hard to get up for this game for these young guys with the type of philosophy that the Bills bring to it. What they could do at a little bit more of a leadership level, at the coaching staff level, is make them understand, or maybe they do, and what we got was really just kind of a flat performance. And then, be it as it may, I'm certain they're not combing Twitter for the commentary about all the guys that were drafted this year and how they're all busts and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Buffalo Bills came out in this football game and didn't look crisp from the start, whether it was on offense or defense. Offense specifically, they had the one running play that went for nothing. They had an incomplete pass. Vandermark had 2 false start penalties, probably could have had a couple more. And it kind of just went downhill from there. And I think what's odd to me is the amount of chasing and the amount of, even in a vanilla defense, John, misunderstanding or misreading plays, specifically by Joe Andreessen, who did not have a good football game. Cole Bishop did not have a good football game early. There was a lot of stuff going on that seems like elementary fundamental football, which if you follow this team just like I do, you've heard Coach McDermott, that's what he presses on: fundamentals. And there was it seemed like there was a lot of that stuff missing on defense. Mostly offense, The tale of the two offenses to me was just about completing passes. And you can talk about the defense and we can talk about the offense after that. But it just seems like there was a lot of just either misjumping, misreading, misbiting. I don't even know what you would call it. They were just not where they were supposed to be.
Yeah. And I can't disagree with you, but I'm not going to put as much pressure on it as others may. And here's why. They might have been floating around a little bit in the wrong spot, but that's what they look at. This is almost like a live practice for you, not a team practice. And they're going to take that package and say, okay, what's the defense? What are we in? What's the look to give it? They're giving us. When you recognize this look and you're making your drop, you need to be where you need to be. Right. So there were a couple of snafus in coverage that are undeniable, but I thought Cole Bishop tackled well. I thought Andreessen covered the field pretty well and tackled pretty damn well. So these are the types of things, two young players who need to get a feel for where they have to be in their drops. And I got to be honest with you, a couple of those Andreessen ones, I don't see him dropping any deeper than he was. He was at that first layer and the ball was over his head a little bit more. It looked bad because here's a guy who's leaping up trying to make, a tip or something of that nature. He might have been slightly out of position on a couple and, not in bad position in others, but, the safety play was not fantastic. And that includes Damar Hamlin too, who just, I said it last year. I was surprised when Damar made the team, and I would be again surprised if he makes it this year. But strangely, he seems to play fair in the regular season. Not outstanding, but fair.
So that's a question for a former player, right? So how much of a difference does it make? And obviously it seems obvious. How much of a difference does it make when the other 10 guys or 9 guys around you are starters? I mean, it feels like you could argue it both ways. Well, no, your job is your job and you have to do your job, especially if you're a corner on an island or a safety that has a specific role or a linebacker. But is it a situation where like everybody out here is confused? I'm confused. Can you answer that question? How much does it matter for you to do your 111th if everybody around you is a starter?
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing. I mean, there was no feeling in the locker room to go out and win a football game, but there was supposed to be this innate feeling for you to go out and do your very best as your 111th. Right. And I think as the game started, if you don't prep a game with enough adrenaline and enough hype, then you come out flat. And now you're trying to manufacture it, but you're manufacturing it with this sort of post feeling of, oh God, I wasn't ready. And now you're trying to do this catch up business, emotionally speaking. Right. And, I feel like that's what happens if the coaching staff and the locker room doesn't get a grasp of the importance of this game, whatever it is, individually or as a team, then you come out and you look flat, and that's what they did.
Yeah. The Buffalo Bills lost to the Bears last year. It was all over Twitter, 33-6, which again, preseason football, nobody needs to overreact to this football game. But it was after that game, I believe, that McDermott came out and said that he wants to win every football game, like regardless of preseason or not. And he was very heated in that presser, which is potentially happening right now for this football game as we're recording this live on shortly after the football game ended. As much as I agree with you as far as that goes, I feel like that's not the vibe in the locker room. I feel like I think there's going to be some proverbial butt chewing happening after this football game. I think there's a lot of guys that may have had their status on this roster decided in this football game.
I think going back to how we started the show, I think the practice against the Bears was more important, right? And people are dogging Elijah Moore, but he did well in practice against the Bears this week.
Right.
And, you're out there with Mike White or you're out there with Mitch Trubisky, and they're just not sharp. They're not playing well. But you could chew guys if you feel like these guys have a chance to make it. Now, the guys that, a little bit further down in the third rank, you're not going to spend as much time pushing on them.
Right.
But everybody has to, you have to be hypercritical of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, be that as it may, I don't think this roster is in any way decided. I don't know that this game really pushed one guy one way or the other. I do believe that it's the practice reps.
Yeah. John, finding great candidates to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack sometime. And I would imagine it's that way probably in football and the NFL too. You just get too many resumes and just not enough candidates with the right skills or experience, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you very fast. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter's smart technology identifies top talent for your roles quickly. Immediately after you post your job, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology starts showing you qualified candidates for that role that you posted. Look, ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/audio. One more time, ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Now that we get a little bit of that business out of the way. I mean, it's you talk about them coming out flat. And it's hard for me. I go back through all the annals of conversations that you and I have had, the things that I've heard players say and coaches say, and it's just that if you need a hype man to get you up to play a football game, then you're probably in the wrong business. And these guys that were playing in this football game, particularly for the Buffalo Bills, because there were basically 0 starters. Dorian Williams came in late in the game, which I thought was odd because he's kind of like that first guy off the bench as a linebacker. Damar Hamlin has been a starter, but I feel like you're here to show. I mean, it's 8:00. It's prime time. It's a Sunday night football game. You're in Chicago. I feel like you've got enough to not come out flat. Is that on the coaches? Is that on the team? Is it just a weird thing?
You got a lot of things going on as a staff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think the last thing that you're monitoring as a coaching staff is what's a pregame locker room like. And I'm not going to cast aspersions on any of the 20 guys who will start for us in a couple of weeks here.
Right.
But if they're kind of rolling into the locker room and it's fully lackadaisical, there's a contagion to that. And if they don't bring a level of intensity or seriousness, then you do have to manufacture it yourself. Now, to be fair, and let's try to be fair here. There were some interesting things to see in the front four on the defensive line from time to time, Joe. But the problem was we'd see a drive and be like, oh, wow, hey, TJ Sanders looks good. Oh, man, Deion Walker looks good. Landon Jackson, there's something there. And then the next drive, you're like, they're standing up, they're getting driven back. And I just that to me is a little, what are we doing here? Right. And another concern is, and thank goodness only Jordan Hancock seems to have some sort of a slight, shoulder ding. But when you're a little lax like that, that tends to lead to injury. Right. So that's another thing that I don't love about this type of philosophy. I'm not saying he's got to go out. He said a year ago that he wants to win every football game, whether it's, playoffs, preseason, or regular season. He clearly forgot that. I mean, you just wiped that. That was gone. I never said that. Oh, Joe Miller never forgets, and neither does the internet.
I forget a lot of things.
But there were a few guys out there that I think probably could have put a little bit more on tape as the game went on.
It feels like we hear that there's no game planning, right? We hear that there's no preparation. Obviously, they might have some plays that they want to see, and maybe the quarterbacks know going into the game that there's a couple plays we want to not script, but that we're going to run that we want to see how you execute. But for all intents and purposes, the Buffalo Bills are very, very vanilla. They're 5-time in a row AFC East champions. They've got their core starters. You've got Josh Allen. They're putting guys out there. I'm going somewhere with this, so. It feels like it's easier to evaluate what you're trying to accomplish in a scenario more like what the Bears did, because you could tell that they were buttoned up in a lot of ways in this football game, especially early, versus trying to evaluate in what I would call chaos. It feels like the Buffalo Bills in preseason a lot of times are trying to evaluate in chaos. And I know you said it's individual. Can this player win this rep? It just feels like stuff breaks down. How do you evaluate in such chaos?
Well, there's you can evaluate how guys respond in adversity. No, it's a meaningless game with respect to the season. But if you're going out there and you're getting drove, then how's that guy going to respond the next play? So you're putting him in a bad situation. You're looking at personalities. You're looking at toughness. You're looking at that kind of thing. There's certainly a lot to behold from what you just said, but again, with 18 to 20 of our starters not in the game, and we're looking at backup roles, then you are kind of really assessing individuals, because when it comes to week one, by and large, everybody on the field taking the reps, the starters are going to get 95% of the reps. So you're looking at individual performance. And again, the practice is more important than this game.
Right.
As part of the reason for the Bears' success is they moved a pocket a lot. I think we ran one or two bootlegs or rollouts, and I think both of them were with Mitch Trubisky.
Right.
We had backup offensive line in there the entire game. We didn't start a single offensive lineman. We moved guys around, right? The rookie from UConn, he played left tackle, he played right tackle and left guard. Poor Vandermark, he must be thinking, I'm too old for this shit. He played damn near the entire game. And it's hard to deal with that, but it's also a good thing to put those guys in front of a starting defense. Puts pressure on. So anybody who's evaluating to an excessive level, I think you're in the wrong marketplace for that. But I think if you're looking individually at how guys respond to adversity, how guys respond in one-on-one situations, and to be fair, Joe, I don't know the defenses that were called, right? We look and say, DeMar Hamlin was out of position, Cole Bishop was out of position, Andreessen, but we don't know which one of those guys is really out of position based on what defense is called.
Yeah. I wonder what the FanDuel over would have been that the Bears have over 500 total yards, because that's what they had this football game. The Buffalo Bills had 180 total yards, and that feels like a lot. It feels like they didn't have that many. You look at the quarter. Go ahead.
Aside from a fumble, and I'm sitting on my couch right there looking at the pixelated Xfinity photo, and I'm thinking to myself, Frank Gore Jr. is actually looking pretty good. All of a sudden, Xfinity gives me the picture back, ball on the ground, and I'm like, oh, Franklin. That's
funny.
You're doing me dirty, Franklin.
The Bears quarterbacks were probably around 70% completion rate. Like I said earlier, a couple minutes ago, this game, the offenses, it felt like one team was catching the football, one team wasn't. The Bills were way under 50%. From a wide receiver standpoint, there's people in the comment section talking about the wide receivers. No Coleman, no Shakir due to injury in this game. But a lot of the other main guys played deep into this football game. When you look at Elijah Moore, who did not have a great game, Joshua Palmer played into this game. Terrell Shavers, looked good in this football game. He's kind of become that camp darling as far as that goes. But there was just, if the quarterbacks threw the ball, they weren't hitting the receivers, and it seemed like if they were hitting the receivers, a lot of times the receivers were dropping it. There's just not. I don't know what you take away from this football game as far as just holistically, outside of a good butt chewing. And like you said, maybe it's a locker room experience. Maybe they're trying to, or not that they would set it up for this, but they're going to learn some stuff from the locker room. It's just weird. It was a weird football. Let's go here.
It was hard to watch.
One thing is for sure, the Buffalo Bills were clearly trying to get a football look at Brandon Codrington, because he was playing.
Thank you. That's where I was going. You hit
starting on the defense. Yeah. Starting on the defense right from the top, playing corner or playing safety, whatever he was playing. I was like, oh, Codrington's playing football in this game.
Yes, and although he took a few shots in the Twitterverse and here and there, that they did that because they need a returner, right? So he was on the field returning punts, he was on the field returning kicks. They're looking at what else can you do? We're just going to put you out there. And I think by and large he performed okay. Like, this is not a guy who's going to step in as the nickel DB or a starting CB unless there's a disaster. And in the instance that he does, dude, we're checking out. We're going to pick an NFC team and follow. We're going to FanDuel and we're putting it all on the Falcons or somebody, right? Bijan Robinson down there, Tucson, man.
I feel like Codrington playing in this football game as much as he did was literally getting a look at what you're talking about, the emergency situation. Is this a Laviska Shenault situation where, because we know he can play wide receiver if we probably need him in a pinch, or is this a Brandon Codrington situation?
Yeah, but I think the problem with Shenault is, I don't think he's better than Shavers. Shavers has been in the system longer.
Also true.
Shavers looked very good today. I don't think that Laviska looked terribly great on the returns. I just think And maybe the numbers are different, but he looked very much like a straight line guy. Did not bend it in when I thought he should have bent it in. I don't have the vision he does.
Right.
So to me, the real piece was Codrington, right? Can this guy be serviceable if a guy goes down for half a game, not for a 4-game stretch? And I think they look at him more as a return guy, but who's going to add the most value and depth at the roster? Shavers is more of a wide receiver than Chenault. Codrington can do both and play defense. So, I enjoyed watching that. We talked about the QBs. I still think this wide receiver room, going back to that, is a really hard decision to make. I mean, Shavers has really shown very well.
Yeah.
And you've got to make this choice, right? Elijah Moore, Shavers, Curtis Samuel still on the bench. And I mean, it's a rough go of it. These next week or 2 weeks, somebody in that room has got to edge out the next guy. Samuel's got to get off the slab. Elijah Moore makes a couple of great catches in practice, and maybe in the next preseason game, I think he locks it up. Shavers is kind of like a bubble guy right now.
Yeah, it's you almost wonder if they're going to end up keeping 6, and it's Shavers at the end, right? I think Elijah Moore makes this football team. Clearly, Joshua Palmer makes this football team, and I think it is a Shavers situation. Have we seen Shavers return punts or just kickoffs? Have we seen him do either of those?
I don't think we've seen either. Let me go back.
Well, then Chenault or Codrington is definitely making this football team.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't think it's Chenault.
Shakir can return kicks. Khalil Shakir can return punts, rather, I guess, right? He has done that in the past for this football game.
2 things, okay?
Yeah.
So let's consider.
Andy says Shavers has done both. So go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Who's going to step in? If Shakir is out as he is right now, it's Elijah Moore. It's not Shavers.
Correct.
Right. Okay, who's going to step in for Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Shavers, right?
Or Chenault, potentially, but yes.
Or Chenault. But then if Codrington can play the nickel and disaster corner, catastrophe corner, and return, then I think that makes the decision right there.
The problem is I think Dane Jackson makes the practice squad. If the Bills cut him, I don't think he gets picked up by another football team.
He hasn't looked particularly good. True. I mean, he's played very well during the season.
I have no response.
He hasn't looked great, and again, I'm evaluating preseason games. Right, I'm not at practice. Like, what am I doing? Why am I going back to evaluating a preseason game? Exactly. He hasn't looked great in the preseason, but he tends to deliver a serviceable product during the regular season. He is not a bad football player, but. Right. As you know, it's a little bit of a duck goose. No, which is the one where you merry-go-round, the chair, get the chair where they run around. Oh, I'm the last man standing. Duck goose. There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a wild scenario right now. I mean,
for sure.
I love the idea that whomever we let go goes somewhere and advances their career, because like all the Bills Mafia, you fall in love with players in the preseason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even Gosnell, right? I mean, shame about the last name, but I mean, the guy's showing us something. I mean, pretty great stuff. Yeah. But he doesn't make this team. Maybe he makes the practice squad.
Right. At the to reduce the risk of beating the proverbial dead horse, because frankly the horse didn't even show up to this football game. I don't know if you've got any.
It was a mule.
I don't know if you've got any final. The horse has to be there to kill it and to continue to beat it. And
what it was? It was the Corona burro that showed up. It's got the Corona beers in the saddlebags, walking around the reception.
Very good. Very good.
Chilling. Joe.
Any final comments before I get us out of here? Again, ladies and gentlemen, preseason game. Don't get worked up. Any final comments?
Well, so look, I'm just like you in the comments. I'm just like you listening to this in podcast form, which you can download anywhere. I get worked up too. I'm watching the game and I have to constantly talk myself back and just say, look, it's the preseason. I was 0-5 my first 3 or 4 years in Buffalo in the preseason. And you know what? I woke up the next day and I was like, all right, what's practice? What's next? I didn't think about it for a second. But now I'm watching it like the rest of Bill's Mafia, and I'm like, I'm alternately like poking my eye out and pulling out my hair.
Yeah, but
So
I'm gonna tell you what I've told you every time you've said that, because I was in high school and went to those preseason games. You guys went down the field like a fine, well-oiled machine and scored a touchdown every time you had the football. Zing down the field, pads off. Totally different.
yeah. But we haven't seen Josh Allen in the starting offense, right? Last week we did, to be fair. We saw him for one drive. My final thoughts are, you know what? Pour yourself a, Coca-Cola or a bourbon, whichever your preference is. Go to work tomorrow. Know that 22 of your favorite guys are healthy for the next week to come.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Overreaction Buffalo postgame show on the Overreaction Sports Network. Presented by FanDuel. This week coming up. So we got the Off Tackle with John Fina show tomorrow, Monday, live here on our YouTube channel. Tuesday, Tim Graham making his first appearance on the beat this week. And then Wednesday is the Big O show, and then the Anthony Marino show. We got a Thursday show coming. We have a show scheduled to start Thursday evenings before the season starts. I'm going to tease you with that. I'm not going to give you any more information than that. And then Saturday will be the return of Anthony Marino for the walkthrough, your last look before the game starts, pregame show. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction, appreciate you guys. Love you. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.